Okay, so I'm just going to talk you through some of the benefits in volunteering in Portugal and my experiences of it. And I was hoping Maria would be here because she had some quite interesting stories to tell, but she may show up. And I know Anna had something to say, so I'll bring her in at the end, if that's okay, Anna. If you've got any questions about specific things about volunteering, just pop them in the questions in the chat, and I'm sure Cal will bring them to my attention along the way. So, people often ask me in Ask Our Expats sessions, how do I make new friends? How do I meet people in Portugal? And I think volunteering is one of the best ways to meet new people, because usually in your past life in your old country, you will have met people through work or through school or through hobbies. And maybe those won't happen in Portugal in your new life. A lot of people are coming here to retire, so you're not going to meet people at work. You may have Portuguese lessons and meet people at school, but that's just going to be other foreigners. And that Portuguese lessons are a good way to meet people, other foreigners, but you probably want to meet Portuguese people as well. So volunteering is a very good way to do that, because meeting people while you've got a common objective, while you're working together to a common goal, gets you talking about things, it gets you learning the vocabulary about the work you're doing, and it gets you to meet people from your local community. It also helps good causes. Usually it will be a charity or a non-profit, at least, that you'll be working for voluntarily. So you get to learn about the work that they do and help them to do it, which is good in itself. It's beneficial, it benefits your local community. So you not only get to meet the people that work there, maybe the people that use the service, you also get to give something back a little bit to your new community. So that's a good thing for everybody. It can also help you to structure your time. A lot of people, when they retire, they may have difficulty in structuring the time, and the days just go by and they don't know what day of the week it is. Whereas if you have a regular thing that you do every week, be it your Portuguese classes or be it volunteering, then it helps you to structure. You know that on a Tuesday night at 7 o'clock, you do this every week. And that can really help you to build in some structure to your time. It can also help you to integrate into a new community, like I say, by getting to know about the work of the organisation, but also you can learn some of the social issues in your local community. Like if you work for like a dog's home, you can learn about the stray dog issues. If you work for a food charity, you can learn about the issues around poverty that some people experience here. Or whatever your interest is, there's probably an organisation supporting it. So you can learn things that you don't generally pick up by just hanging around other expats. And I find that that's really builds those social bonds with your new community. And also, it's a good way to learn or practice the language. And I know a lot of people, when they arrive, they've got no or very basic Portuguese and can feel a little bit frightened to join in things where they expect everyone will be speaking Portuguese. And that is quite scary, but it's also good scary. And if you're prepared to just go with that and be scared, it's probably the best way to learn Portuguese and to improve. So the language barrier. There are some opportunities to volunteer in English, but I would say that really getting out of your comfort zone. And sorry, just getting dive bombed by a cat. Getting out of your comfort zone and being in situations where you have something that you want to say to somebody, like, how do I do this? How can I help? What do you want me to do? These are everyday phrases, but they never come up in Portuguese lessons. So it's kind of, you just learn by doing, and that sticks in your memory with no effort whatsoever. Also, if you do voluntary work for a biggest organisation, if you're volunteering in a group, there's a good chance that at least one of the other people there will speak some English and will help you out. Portuguese people are notoriously helpful, as we know. And as time goes by, you'll improve your Portuguese. So don't worry about the language barrier. But if you're really worried, then there are some opportunities in English. So what type of volunteering can you do? Now, there are many, many different types of things. These are just some of the popular and main ones. Animals is always a popular one, whether in dog and cat shelters, walking dogs, either taking them for walks or cleaning them out or just helping out. Sometimes they have sort of regular collections in supermarkets where people donate food and cat litter and things like that to the animal shelters. So just basically standing in the supermarket for a couple of hours asking people to donate. And sometimes that, in some areas, that might be possible. It might be useful for them for you to be an English speaker. So that's one thing to look at. Food, the food charities such as Banco Alimentar, which is a food bank, and ReFood, which is where I have been volunteering for a few years, which help to get food to people who are living in food poverty. There's teaching and training. If you have a skill that you can teach, like art skills or exercise classes, there may be opportunities in places like Universidades Senior, which are places that run courses for people over 50. And they do a variety of courses, and they're in a lot of towns and cities. Really good place. All of the teachers are volunteers. They're often a good place to learn Portuguese. They often are looking for people to teach English. So if you wanted to teach English, that's a good place to look. And also another place that does that is Speak, which is a very good organisation. Yeah, I'll mention that again later. Environment, there are things like environmental cleaning up in the countryside, beach cleans, planting trees, things like that, community gardens. So lots of things there to get involved in. And if you're doing something quite practical, the language becomes less of an issue. Community stuff like the scout groups, working with children. Obviously you need to get police checks and things, but one interesting one that Maria mentioned, I don't know if she's turned up yet, was around culture, in that she volunteered for one time for the Festa dos Tabuleiros in Tomar. And big cultural events like that do rely on volunteers to sort of help out with the practical stuff at the actual events. And the great advantage of that is that you get to be in the centre of the action. You're not queuing up, you're in the middle selling the tickets or putting out chairs, and you get to see everything from behind the scenes, which is a fantastic way to get to know about your local culture. So beach cleanups, like I say, about this time of year, a lot of beaches are doing this, and at one of our local ones, one of the smaller beaches, just collected 350 kilograms, is that right, of waste, loads of waste anyway. Speak, like I mentioned, are doing a lot at the moment welcoming Ukrainian refugees. So they do language courses, kind of conversational, run by volunteers courses. You can teach your own language. You can learn Portuguese with them. But they also have some cultural events like sort of food nights based on the different countries and cultures, and language exchanges and picnics in the park, and they're all over the country and really great organisations get involved in. ReFood, I'll just tell you a little bit about my experience of ReFood. I've been volunteering for them for nearly 6 years now, I think. And they have two aims. They look at food waste. They try to reduce food waste and they try to reduce food poverty. So those things kind of naturally cancel each other out. They're just the mechanism to do that. And what they do is they collect leftover food from cafes and restaurants and supermarkets, and they collect it together, divide it into packs for families, and they give it to people that are in need. So they basically ask for a commitment of 2 hours per week. So it's really good. It's not too much, but it's enough time to get to know the people that you're working with. And there tend to be a group on each shift, so maybe 5 or 6 people working together. So there's often somebody that speaks English in that shift. There's all different tasks that you get to know. It's really good if you're learning Portuguese for learning the numbers and the food vocabulary and the kitchen vocabulary. And yeah, they're just a great organisation. I've met my accountant there. Lots of the people that work there are teachers. They're all age groups, from school kids to retired people, all different working ages in between. And it's just a fantastic place to get to know people. And since I've been there, I started off working on a shift, and then I became a shift manager. So then I had to go to meetings and sort of direct other volunteers in what to do. It's a 100% voluntary organisation. It was actually started in Lisbon, I think about 11 years ago, by an American man called Hunter Helder. And it's now, I think there are 60 around the country. So they're in most fair-sized towns and cities. I think there's very few in the Algarve, but throughout the north and the central Portugal, there's a lot of branches. And yeah, local dog shelter, they're always short of volunteers. So just ask around and they'll be very happy for your help. Put my lights on to that.
I have to say at this point, Pam, I'm very impressed you're using Microsoft Teams. That hasn't gone unnoticed.
Yeah, I didn't want to. It's just where the PowerPoint is.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so where do you find out where to volunteer? Well, a good place to start is the website of your Câmara Municipal. And I recommend that you go and visit that website anyway, even if you're not going to volunteer, because it's also a great place to find out about events and what's on and news in your local area. Some of them have a version in English, some don't, but you can translate everything yourself now on the interweb. So if you go to your Câmara website and you search for this, Banco Voluntariado, a lot of them have a form you can fill in and register to be a volunteer. Now, I know Maria had a very good experience in Tomar, where she registered and she got to do a few different events. They send out regular newsletters and you just let them know if you're interested in a particular event and you go along. Sounds really well organised. I tried to register in Alcobaça 7 years ago. I've not heard anything back from them yet. So it's a bit variable. I looked at a few Canberra municipal websites, and some of them do look fantastic, I have to say. And Anna mentioned about the Qashqai's one, which looks particularly good. They seem to have kind of a, what do you call it, like a point system, where if you volunteer, you get discounts off events with them, which sounds fantastic. So it pays you something back into the local community for volunteering with them. Other than that, you can go directly to the organisations, like your local dog shelter, just go along and ask them. ReFood are always looking for volunteers, I can assure you. Or if there's something specific around some kind of a hobby that you want to do, or some experience that you've got and you want to use that in your volunteering work, then just get in touch with me if you want some tips on where to go. I may have some ideas. But I think other than that, one last thing, she said, Columbo-like. As well as volunteering, another way that you can help these organisations, charities and non-profits is if you do a tax return in Portugal, if you do your IRS declaration here, you can actually assign an organisation to receive 0.5% of your tax that you pay. And that costs you nothing. The government just does it. So it's really worth, when you do your IRS declaration, mention it to your accountant and tell them which organisation you want that money to go to. And organisations really rely on that extra bit of money that comes in from that, because it's not very much from each person, but it adds up. So definitely do that at least.
That's great, Pam. Thank you very much indeed. I've got just one or two questions and some that I'll put in.
Shall I stop sharing?
Yeah, sure. That's great. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Really appreciate it. And just want to ask you a couple of questions and incorporate some of the things that have come in from the chat and the shares from the team as well, because I think Thomas had a bit of input there as well. So what's the scariest? I mean, being promoted suddenly to a team leader and having to supervise Portuguese people, I was going to ask you what the scariest thing is that you've done as a volunteer. Would that be it?
Yeah, supervising the volunteers wasn't the scary bit. It was when I had to deal with the beneficiarios who were coming along for the first time. Because occasionally you get people that are needing help. They're meant to come or phone before or get referred by other organisations. But occasionally people just turn up at the door and say, have you got some food? Can I get some food here? Kind of thing. And you have to deal with them. If it's your shift and you're the shift manager, you've got to deal with that. So that was a little bit challenging the first couple of times, but I think it's okay. I mean, my instinct was, if they say they're hungry, I'm going to give them some food. Of course. I'm here, I've got a room full of food, I'm not going to say no. So just did that, took the details, and yeah. I mean, obviously that does require some Portuguese, but there were occasions when my Portuguese was at its limits, and luckily one of the volunteers on my shift spoke quite good English and she helped out.
It kind of always works out in the end, doesn't it? That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So that's a scary end. What's the funniest or loveliest moment of your volunteering career?
Well, I think the social aspect of it, which I didn't mention, was there's always a Christmas party and they celebrate their birthday every year. It's been going 7 years, ReFood, in Alcobaça. Nationally, it's been going, I think, about 11 years, but coincidentally, ReFood Alcobaça's anniversary is the day that I left the UK to come and move to Portugal. So we celebrate together.
Double celebration. Okay. All right. So yeah. Special day for you then. Okay. And then presumably those socials are a lot of fun.
Yeah, we usually go out for a meal. One year we went on a walk around all of the places that donate food. So it was quite a walk. It took about 2 hours to go to all the cafes and supermarkets that donate to ReFood, and personally thanked them. There was about 30 of us. It was a day before lockdown.
Oh my word. Okay. So you were able to have a hangover in the first day of lockdown then? Good time.
No, we didn't drink. It was a war. It's healthy, if anything.
Really? I was thinking that each hostelry you went to, you had a little sip of aquadent or Beirão or something like that, just to celebrate and say thank you.
No, we gave them a certificate.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that sounds lovely. And clearly we can see the benefits there. I think, Thomas, you wanted to add something? The less formal.
Yes. There are actually two things. There's the thing I put in the chat, which is we've found here in Santarém that we're in an area where we're mostly surrounded by older people living on their own. And I say sometimes it almost feels like it's a kind of a comedy, because we get cornered by people when we're out in the street and they talk to us for ages about Fatima Lopez, who was a daytime TV host, and what she's been on about and all that kind of thing. But, they tell us stories about the area. Some of them lived here for 40, 50 years. Sometimes they need some errands, going and paying a bill for them, getting some bits for them. But it's a really good way, it's not a job. It's, and it's completely ad hoc. I also said, literally, I've been phoned twice by a lady around the corner since I've been on this webinar. I've no idea what she needs this evening, but it's enjoyable and it's very local. So there is an option that means you don't have to do something formal like that.
Yes.
The other thing, which, Pam, I'm sorry, I wish I thought of this when you'd asked for some input before, but was I'm not a massively sort of touchy-feely person. I'm not comfortable in certain social settings, but one of the things that I have found is a good channel for me is quite a few voluntary organizations, but also I guess voluntary organizations, charities, need people who are sort of board members effectively. So people who aren't necessarily delivering the service, but might be able to give them some support, some sense checking. I'm a project manager by background, so there's a local choir here that I sing with, but also I help them out in terms of some of their management admin and things like that. So you can do things that aren't necessarily at the front end, but still contribute to an organization like that. I mean, I'm not used to spending a lot of time with kids. I'm not used to spending a lot of time with animals. So I'd probably be fairly hopeless at some of the front line, but I might be able to help them actually doing some of the management, some of the communication, that kind of thing.
That's brilliant, Thomas. Thank you for that. And we want to know what that lady wants around the corner. So maybe if you could attend to that and we can find out later on that everything's okay with her, that'd be brilliant. But that's superb, because people will be coming with professional skill sets, won't they? And I think it'll be quite familiar and comforting to be able to contribute your professional skill in the way that you've described onto a board level rather than at frontline level. So that's a fantastic idea. And just mucking in locally, saying hello to people and how can you help? That's brilliant. Superb. So we'll go to a couple of questions before we throw it wide open to any questions at all. Matty, that was really interesting what you were saying. I think in the Netherlands, there's a little bit of an allowance or expenses for volunteers. Pam, does that happen here, or is it entirely voluntary and only the social points, no cash back?
No, I don't think so. Even when I've volunteered in the UK, you always get your expenses paid. Here, there's never been any mention of it, unfortunately.
All right. Laura was asking, I think, about opportunities for working with children. I think the scouting movement would be a great, our mate Nuno Mendes is a scoutmaster. That would appear to be one great opportunity for working with kids. Have you got any other suggestions on that, Pam?
Yeah, my husband did some volunteering for one of these homework club kind of places, helping with their English.
Okay.
So yeah, you can just go in once a week and help them do their English homework, basically.
Okay, and I think Mary was asking the same thing. Which was the organisation where you can help teach English? I suppose that would be one outlet for that, and there will be others, I suppose, working with adults as well.
Yeah, for adults, it's Universidad Senior, which will be local to you. There'll be one, or Speak, which is a national organisation. Yeah, I'll get the link for Speak and stick it in there.
Speak are quite extraordinary, aren't they? And both Speak and ReFood seem to capture people's imaginations. I think you've managed to get a few extra volunteers in for ReFood as you've spoken tonight. So this is the point. I'll stop the recording. Before I do though, this is a lovely suggestion from Glenn. I read there's an organisation called Alerta who do a lot of voluntary firefighting. I suppose with the Bombeiros here in Portugal and the voluntary nature of the Bombeiros, there's going to be a lot of possibilities for working fundraising. We know a lot of expats do fundraising for the Bombeiros. It's an obvious outlet for helping out and getting involved. I've even heard of somebody becoming a paramedic here. I mean, obviously your Portuguese would have to be excellent to do that, but they came to Portugal and trained to be a paramedic within the Bombeiros. So if you have those sorts of aspirations and application and a willingness to learn the language, that's there too.
I saw an advertisement for training for lifeguards recently. I think that's another thing. Like, if a lot of people have got the qualification in that from your home country, then it's something that's easily transferable.
Vicky, thank you. Is there any sort of Habit for Humanity organisation? I don't know what that is, Vicky. Do you recognise that type of organisation, Pam or Thomas?
I'm not sure.
Habit for Humanity. I'm not sure what they give us. A bit more
I'm aware of it as I think it's an American origin organisation. I haven't come across it as a thing here, but you know, potentially if you volunteer with things in another country, they may well have some kind of an affiliate or, you know, partner organisation here. A lot of, for example, wildlife charities have got equivalents here. So perhaps have a look from the other end, if you like, and see if they've got a connection through. They may have an international team that has a contact in Portugal.
Superb. So just before we throw it open to any questions, just one more then. There was a question here. Yes, Jeff, how significant are the animal welfare issues? Where is help most needed? Would you like to have a response to that, Pam? Cats and dogs are obvious, aren't they, in terms of...
Yeah, I mean, there's colonies of cats that live wild in a lot of towns. I think historically been a lot of stray dogs, but certainly I see less now than sort of 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. There's a lot more animal shelters and they're all full. There isn't no more space for dogs or cats and they have trouble rehoming. So one way you could help is to take a pet dog or cat home with you. Would be an immediate help. If you all took a dog home, then that would take the pressure off a few dogs and cats homes.
Yes, and there is the legendary dog volunteering organisation called Crapper. It's a true story in, I don't know if that's national or just in Caldas de Reis.
It's just Caldas.
But it does stay in people's minds, that one. So let's, I'll end the recording there and we'll go to Guest Open. Any questions from anybody for Pam or Thomas or Lucy?